What's good, people? Welcome back. Another episode, another player episode. Mr. Will Buckley himself. How are we, mate?
Yeah, all good, thanks, Joe. Glad to be on and see what we can talk about and get out of this.
I was going to say, mate, my obviously haircut needs done with lockdown and stuff like that. I think we're all due a trim sometime.
Yeah, I think we're well overgrown at the minute, so we'll all be straight back to the barbers as soon as they're open.
I was going to say, pal. So obviously, with all my guests, we like to talk about your journey and stuff and kind of where it all began, really. Obviously, you're not a southern lad, from the north. Talk about kind of specifically when you first went into kind of academy, scholar. Obviously, unless you're one of the big boys, kind of United, Newcastle, big massive academies, kind of Cat 1. What was it like for you, kind of being a scholar at a kind of lesser first team, if that makes sense, like a lesser kind of established club?
Yeah, I think obviously when I was coming through all the youth systems, I was at Oldham Athletic originally, so that was a school of excellence. And then you've got obviously your academies like United City, all the top academies that have really got all the best coaches, get the best young kids at that age, really. So they're the ones that you're kind of competing against, but you're at a lower club. So yeah, I was at Oldham Athletic. I actually got released from Oldham when I was about 14, 15, so I didn't actually get a scholar there. It was Rochdale who gave me a chance. And yeah, I think obviously you're at a lower club, so I suppose you probably think that you're going to have to work harder.
Yeah.
You're going to have to take every opportunity you get if you do get into the first team. I think obviously the good thing is it's probably easier to break into the first team if you're at a lower club. And then them lower clubs will kind of know that they have to use you. If you're good enough, they'll put you in. So I think it was kind of a blessing, really, that I probably was at a lower one. But yeah, like you say, the big boys of the Premier League historically have got the best coaches, the best facilities. That's what you're competing against. And to be at Rochdale, which was a League Two team at the time, and obviously not much money going into the youth kind of setups. It was difficult, but probably a good start for me to kind of build on and know where you're starting really in them lower leagues.
Because I think what's the lad? I think he's from Rochdale now. He went to Wolves, young right back, scored at United.
Yeah, Matheson, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously came onto the scene so early and stuff like that. Obviously, you get with your Liverpools, Uniteds, stuff like that. People might think a bit prima donna-ish. Oh, like I'm wearing the badge. Like, look at me. You've never actually played a bloody first team game.
Yeah.
Is that still there in that environment, or because it's more of a run club, everyone kind of knows everyone, and it's like the first team lads walking around training at Rochdale? Was it kind of like you're not a player until you've made it, so don't think you're the big time yet? Was that kind of good grounding for you, do you reckon? And it kind of shaped you?
I suppose coming through Rochdale, you are more grounded. You've not got the luxuries of everything else. And I think the good thing, obviously, coming through there again, which showed with Matheson, if he was at a big club, he's probably not playing first team football. Nobody will know about him probably for another 2, 3, 4 years, maybe sometimes, with these under 23s. You might have a good player at United City that nobody knows about until the 21, 22. So if you're good enough, you get put in when you're at the lower league clubs, and that is a good thing. But yeah, like you say, you kind of do get a grounding, and if you're giving it large when you've not even played yet, I suppose people kind of look at it and think, there's a long way to go. Just because you're here as a scholar doesn't mean you're going to be God-given right to be a professional footballer and make hundreds of appearances in the league. And I think it gets you ready for that first team environment quicker because you're putting around it at a younger age.
And what was it like then for you, obviously being a local lad type of thing, and then coming down south? Was it at Watford? It was kind of what was that like for you in terms of just not as a player, but as a man? What was that?
Yeah.
When you came down again?
Yeah, I think it was 18, 19 when Watford bought me from Rochdale. I think about
that as an 18-year-old guy though. Obviously, like I'm 24. I'm quite a normal guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would go through my head. The fact that someone's just bought me at
Yeah.
18 for however much, like they bought you more than what I'm worth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was about 200,000 or something, but it weren't really talked about that much. But I don't think you really think when you're that young. I didn't even really think about it that much. I didn't feel any pressure with it. You know, it was a big move. I was moving out. You know, I lived with mum and dad then at 18. But you don't think about you going moving. You get an apartment on your own, and it's one of them. And if that wouldn't have happened, I might still be with my mum and dad now. You never know, do you? I was kind of forced to move out and kind of grow up quickly. But I loved every minute of it at Watford. It was brilliant. Yeah, getting my own apartment on my own, learning to look after yourself really, you know, as a young lad, and that probably helped me as well. Just straight into their first team there, and you know, it was a big step at the time.
Who was the gaffer at the time?
It was Malky Mackay, was the manager. Sean Dyche was actually his assistant manager. But yeah, they was brilliant as well, and they helped. I think they helped a lot of the young lads that they signed. There was a few at the time that we all signed at the same time, and that was kind of Watford's, you know, thing that they was doing. It was buying young players who had played in the lower leagues and try and develop them. So no, it was brilliant. It was a brilliant time down there.
And obviously, you speak of those two people like Mackay and Dyche. Like obviously, Dyche has gone on to great things. Obviously, Malky did quite a very good job at like Cardiff and places like that. What was that like? Kind of, what was their relationship with their players? Is it very much like you see it on TV? Like they're very straight up, very, very to the point and stuff. What was it like to kind of work under them?
Yeah, to be fair, they were both kind of quite simple about what they wanted from the team. Nothing complicated, just hard work really. Work hard, and they knew that would get us to a certain point in the Championship. Just working hard every week in, week out, giving our all, and then they added a few little things without really complicating it. And yeah, I think they was brilliant, especially for the young lads as well. They kind of give us a chance if we performed in training. They put us in there and give us a chance. So yeah, they was really good to work under. Yeah, Sean Dyche obviously gone on to be a brilliant manager now, but you probably couldn't really imagine that at the time. It was, you know, he was kind of the one that put his arm around you and had a bit of a laugh with you, kind of thing. You know, you don't see that now with him, but he's they were both top guys and kind of looked after you well as well.
Was that at the time when the Watford owners own them now? Is it the same owners at that point, or are they different owners?
I'm not sure. You know, I think they might have been a little bit different. I think it was all similar, but I think they might have got took over after I left.
I was going to say, because like you said about kind of that bringing on the young English talent, and you don't really see that much at Watford now. But what was it like? Because obviously we've all seen like the fans down there. Can you feel that as a player, and like can players really feel the passion from the fans when they do get behind them? And does it give you that? I know everyone says it gives you that. Like Liverpool, like the fans help massively, and we're maybe seeing that now with Liverpool, like without the fans. Maybe that could be a factor. So what is that like though as a player? And obviously you're on the wing, so you're closer than anyone, I guess. What is it like then?
Yeah. To be fair, I think fans have a massive impact on the team's performance really. Probably, you know, you see a lot of teams that probably struggle sometimes at home when the fans are there because the expectation is so high. If they're not doing so well, that the pressure on the players. But Watford was really good actually.
It's tight though, isn't it, down there?
Yeah, it was a really good ground to play at, and we were doing really well at the time at the start of the season, and they kind of really got behind us and kind of stuck with us even when it got a little bit tough. I think that's important from a fan's point of view. You know, their kind of thoughts translate onto the pitch, and if they're not happy with the team, you can hear it sometimes. So I think Watford was a good one where they didn't expect too much. Obviously every club wants success, but I think they kind of knew at that time they was going through a bit of a transition of trying to produce, you know, young players to kind of improve them and throw them in there straight away, which is what, you know, a lot of our players were doing playing for Watford at that time.
And how was that then, the move from Watford to Brighton? I think at the time, was it Brighton just got promoted from League One to the Championship? So how did that move kind of come about, and did you want to leave Watford? Was it the right time, or why? How did it all come about?
Yeah, To be fair, yeah, I signed for Watford in the January, so I kind of had from the 6 months to the end of the season. Didn't really play that much. That was quite tough, actually. That last 6 months was kind of a relegation battle for Watford, and the pressure on the lads that were playing was just enormous. You know, you see, it's financially it's massive for the players, for the club, for everyone, and it kind of translated on into the dressing room. That my first full season at Watford was brilliant, really. And I just kind of was just playing week in, week out, you know, playing quite well. I didn't think I had an outstanding season. So when Brighton's interest came in, I was quite surprised. I mean, not surprised, but as a young lad, I played quite a lot of games and scored about 5 goals, I think, from midfield, which was obviously not exceptional. But as a young lad, I suppose they seen kind of potential in the future. So yeah, that kind of happened all quite quick. The Brighton interest was just, the season ended. I never thought, you know, I thought I'd be going back to Watford the following season. And then Brighton's interest came in, and then they started putting a few bids in. I think they put 2 or 3 bids in, which kept getting turned down. And eventually, I think it got to £1 million, which they accepted. But yeah, I didn't want to leave Watford, but the lure of going to play for Brighton was massive. Even though they'd only just come up from League One, it was a big club. You know, they'd got a lot of history, and they was moving into the new stadium, the Amex Stadium, which was a massive thing for me, really. You know, there was a lot of hype around Brighton. Obviously, Gus Poyet was there. You know, an unbelievable ex-professional.
What was he like? Obviously, did you speak to him before you signed, and was that another?
No, not really. No, I never spoke to him. Obviously, just seeing what he was doing down there and the way he was playing football. It was funny, actually. I was at Watford, obviously, that season, and we played Brighton in the FA Cup, and they beat us at Vicarage Road. And the way they played was just something I'd never seen before. The way they was passing out from the back and taking so many risks, and it was unheard of. Now it's like just the norm. Now everybody passes it out and takes chances. But then it was kind of just outrageous, really, what they was trying to do, and we couldn't cope with it. As Watford players, it was just like, what's going on here? Why do they just keep passing it out? It's too risky, but we couldn't get the ball off them. So yeah, but no, I'd not spoke to Gus before that. Obviously, knowing about him, and I was just excited to get down there, really, once I knew the interest was coming in.
Yeah, obviously, club record signing at the time, Brighton's record signing at the time.
Yeah.
How was it kind of going in there and obviously you saw them in the FA Cup, and then you're now training with Gus, the team and stuff. Obviously, they had Dunk at the time still. Pridcut was it as well?
Yeah, Pridcut, yeah.
I'm trying to think of a couple other names. What was it like then playing with, obviously, the way you've been playing normally to now? You have to play. You're more possession based. You're looking at how to create different kind of little overloads or force the team to go into mistakes to get more space.
Yeah.
A bit of a weird thing to get used to, especially at a young age. Or
it was a massive change football wise, because Watford was, you know, like I say, Malky and Dashi kept it quite simple, really, what they wanted from the team. We was kind of more of a defensive team because we weren't one of the best teams in the Championship. We were just kind of an average team that just needed to work hard and grind out results, and we did it really well. And not having much of the ball at Watford, it was more on the counter attack. Brighton, completely different. It was all possession. I think every game we had 70% possession, keeping the ball, building out from the back where I needed to be. You know, when different players were moving, it was a lot to take in, but so enjoyable as well to kind of be learning a new, you know, like you think, how much can football change from one manager to the other? But it was a massive change at that time. Like I say, a bit more normal now that teams play out from the back. But at that time, it was kind of, Gus was kind of changing the way everybody played football, really.
Was he more of a kind of, if you're looking at like the two, was he more of like a hand around the shoulder kind of guy, or was he kind of focused, or was his assistant more the man manager type person? Or what was he like? Because you can see it obviously from when he was last in management and like Sunderland with yourself, and obviously at Brighton. The guy's passion is second to none, and I think what is that like? Is he kind of away from the players? Does he like to kind of create that atmosphere, or is that left to his staff and stuff like that?
No, he was quite, he was hands-on with everything, with training. Some managers kind of step back and let the coaches do the sessions, but he was well involved with everything, if not probably deciding everything that went on in training. Like you say, the passion was just, that kind of came across, and the players took that onto the pitch, I think. Probably some players went overboard sometimes as well, because sometimes that can happen. But yeah, his passion, and yeah, he was kind of, put his arm around you and talk to you. He was, probably more of a modern manager the way they are now. You see Pep and Pochettino, that kind of trust in his players and would talk to them. But kind of, you knew he was the manager as well. So I think that's obviously important. But yeah, he was a great manager to work under. He had good staff as well. Tarico, who played at Spurs with him, his assistant, very obviously knowledgeable on defending, brilliant defender. Charlie Otway was kind of the one that would, have a laugh with the lads, but again, a great coach. So I think that team that they had was just brilliant at that time.
And do you think, because players speak about it a lot, kind of, and obviously you now in agency work, the right time, you've got to take the opportunity, it might not come around again. Do you think with someone like Gus, because he likes to kind of be hands-on, be fully involved, submerged the way he wants to play, do you think it may be other managers that are like him that kind of want to completely change the philosophy, give him time to make it bed in? Like, you thinking at that time, like you said, was anyone in League One playing that form, like playing the way they were playing before in the Championship? Were they really playing it from the back? Do you think Brighton as a club and him, they were just perfect kind of partners?
Yeah, I think so. Like I say, he'd obviously, when applying for the Brighton job, must have obviously come across and said, this is the way I'm going to do it. It's different. You might not kind of understand it, especially some owners are not kind of so clued in about football. I think Tony Bloom was obviously loved his football and wanted to kind of take Brighton to the next level. So Gus would obviously have pitched that, and it probably would have been quite hard for people to get their head around. Who weren't even I played football all my life, and that was a massive change to me, the way he was doing things. So yeah, it was a big step and probably a big trust through the Brighton owners to kind of give Gus that chance to change everything the club had ever done, really.
And I've got to ask, I think it's in your first season, was it, here we go, was the goal against Peterborough, was that a shot or a cross?
That was a cross, to be fair.
Because obviously I looked some of your goals. You never seem to score like just easy goals, or like I look at them and think, your debut against Doncaster, is it your debut or was it just your first game? Yeah, at the new stadium, you scored both the goals. What was that like? Obviously, full house, brand new stadium. Yeah. At that point, are you thinking, I'm glad I've made the right decision?
Yeah, I think obviously, I was on the bench, so obviously it didn't start too good. Obviously, I wanted to come in and play and be the main man kind of thing. And I think when I got there, the club was doing so well, and the League One players that had gotten promoted, I think Gus kind of stuck by them and give them the chance, really, which was really good in that season. And they all kind of stepped up, to be honest with you. Sometimes you probably think a promoted club might struggle in the Championship, but obviously I went in there and weren't starting the first game. Came on, scored the goals and kind of took the pressure off a little bit, probably, because I was, put quite a big signing then. There was Mikhail Smith, which kind of took the pressure off again a little bit because he was then the record signing after I'd signed. But yeah, to have a start like that was just then, right, pressure off, just go and relax now and enjoy it. Just kind of settled me right into the club, really, to have a start like that.
Could you, obviously some of the players like Dunk is probably the main one you could say out of that. At that time when you were playing, could you see kind of where Brighton are today? Like, could you see, obviously you're a lot older now and you can kind of see, maybe that was. And the players like Dunk, do you think that those players and the club would have ended up where they are right now? Or are you just like, that's a bit of a shock that they got there?
No, I think, it's always, it's always more difficult than what you think it's going to be. And that was always the aim for Brighton. It was kind of get the new ground, then they did the training ground. It was kind of building to be a Premier League club where they are now. But, you know, there's probably many clubs that have had that idea in the past and never got there. So, you know, you do look back and think, you know, they've done really well to get there. But I think the structure was put in place. And like you say, with the players that came through, obviously Lewis Dunk being the main one now that's still there and been unbelievable. I think the training grounds helped bringing them players through even more. You know, everybody's at the same venue now. They're all kind of eating together in the canteen together. The coaches will be talking between each other more. So I think that helps massively as well.
Do you think that team, kind of within the first kind of 2 seasons three seasons at Brighton, the kind of first 3, when you look back now, do you think like it could have done so much more, if that makes sense? Obviously, the club went on done so much more, but do you look back and think, look at the team you had? Do you think with a couple additions, you maybe could have, or Brighton could have gone up a lot quicker, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. I think the first season was just kind of a settling into the Championship, and we did really well. To be honest, I think we finished about 10th or something like that. But that was just so enjoyable that season. Then we kicked on the next season. I think we come 4th, got into playoffs. That's probably the season we could have gone up. I think that's the best squad we ever had at that time. Just my second season there.
From technical ability or from the squad kind of together?
A bit of both. Yeah, a bit of both really. The squad was brilliant, and then obviously players. You know, sometimes you don't know how good the squad is till then you go years down the line and you see the ones that went on, obviously, to play in the Premier League and stuff like that. So then you realise how good it was. But as a team, it was just such an enjoyable season. Yet we was winning more that season. And we expected, I think we really thought we could have gone up and should have gone up that season. I was talking to someone the other day, actually, who asked me a similar question, whether it worked out better the way it's happened now, and it probably did, because sometimes I think you can go up probably a little bit too soon if you're not ready. I don't think the training ground was ready then, that second season. It was only the 3rd season when I ended up leaving, so that wasn't yet built. I think it was building at that time, so would they have been ready then to go into the Premier League without a set training ground? So I think they could have gone up and possibly should have done that second season when we got in the playoffs and lost to Palace. But I think it's worked out better, you know, in the long run, that they've kind of built to this stage now and are looking quite an established Premier League team now.
How, obviously, when Gus left Brighton, did you kind of hope wherever he would end up next, he would take you? Is that the relationship you had, obviously, at that time?
Yeah, I think, obviously, you know, my aim as a footballer was always to play in the Premier League. That's what I'd always set out to do. Yeah, and I was kind of wishing, I hope he gets a Premier League job because, you know, I'd done well for him. I suppose you never know if he's going to come in and take you, because there was a few that did really well, but we did have a good relationship. He trusted me. You know, I kind of knew the way he wanted to play and stuff like that. So, yeah, when he did get the Sunderland job, you know, I thought at that time I was playing probably my best football, and I believed I could play in the Premier League. So, yeah, it was good timing again, like you say. Things happen at certain times, and when the opportunities come in, you've got to take them, and that's kind of what happened with the Sunderland one for me. Didn't want to leave Brighton because it was unbelievable, and you know, I enjoyed every minute of it there. But when an opportunity to come in to play in the Premier League comes up, you can't turn it down, really.
And what was the difference in size and team? Obviously, Sunderland is a bigger club than say. But you're still going from the Amex, which is for the Championship. It's a packed crowd. It's always there, and then going off to Sunderland. Obviously, people see Sunderland where they are now, and obviously the troubles that they've had. When you kind of went in, was it like that? Like, was the club, obviously as a player, when you walked in, like, could you see the club and was different, or is it kind of just got worse?
Yeah, you know, obviously, it was a massive Premier League club when I went there. I think they'd had a bit of trouble probably in the year or two before that. You know, people obviously mentioned kind of the structure of the club weren't right. and he was kind of dropping a little bit down the league, and it was probably looking like there was then a relegation kind of avoiding that every season, then weren't they, for a while. So there's obviously always that risk that they could go down, but they were still a massive club. They're still, probably in the top 6 or 7 biggest clubs in the Premier League at that time, fan base wise and stuff like that. So yeah, you couldn't have said this is where they're going to end up now, the way they are now and what's happened to them. People who might know more about structures of clubs and stuff like that might have predicted it, but as players, no, I was just going to a massive Premier League club, and that's all that I was kind of thinking about at that time.
Was the squad that Gus was assembling, was it very similar in terms of personalities that he had at Brighton, do you think, or was it the opposite, and maybe that's why he didn't last as long as he maybe would have wanted?
I'd probably say the opposite, really. I think there's a big kind of difference between obviously playing in the Premier League, playing in the Championship, quality-wise, but at Brighton we had that kind of team spirit. Everyone was together. Everyone's kind of earning the same kind of money, so there's no kind of bitterness between players, and it felt a little bit.
Did you notice that at Sunderland?
Yeah, not in the way that the players didn't like each other, but there was always that probably in the back of people's minds that, what they should be earning, or everyone seemed to be concentrating on their own kind of game more than the team. And obviously there was a lot of foreign players in there, so it's hard to get that chemistry. Maybe that might have been one of the reasons, but yeah, it didn't feel, the feel of the squad and the changing room was massively different to the one we had at Brighton. Maybe that's just normal when you get to the Premier League, because there's players from all over the world. Championship players mainly probably English or UK based now. Obviously more kind of foreign players, and the better the standard goes, more players coming from all over. But that was probably the difference, the chemistry within the squad, and kind of the relationship Gus had with players at Sunderland as well.
Was it hard to get up to speed with the Premier League? And what I say, but I don't mean obviously it's like chalk and cheese, but did you notice the real difference jumping up and playing week in, week out against your Liverpools, your Uniteds, your Chelseas, or did you not?
Yeah, no, there was. It was just a lot harder. When I look back, it was just a lot harder to kind of produce something in the final third. All the other kind of bits of the game were quite similar, but when it comes to that final third, that pass, that goal, that creating a chance, that was so difficult in the Premier League. And I think especially because I went from a Championship club that was one of the best in the league to then a Premier League club that was one of the worst in the Premier League. So that obviously didn't help when you're playing every week. You're playing in the Premier League and you kind of expected to lose. So that was difficult. But yeah, like I say, the main thing was just kind of create, on a creative kind of part. That was so difficult to kind of produce them quality moments week in, week out. That was probably the main difference between the two levels, really.
Who were kind of the better players at Sunderland at the time? Not technically, but in terms of just as a person that made them so. Obviously, like players like I look at Lee Cattermole, players like that, like you've played in your whole career, hard-working teams. Do you think that the reason why Sunderland didn't go down, let's say, sooner than obviously they did, was down to those type of players, do you think? Yeah,
possibly. Obviously, Lee Cattermole kind of doesn't get the credit he deserves sometimes. I think, even I was probably guilty of, looking at him when he was at Wigan and he used to get sent off every 1 or 2 games or something. You just think, why is he playing every week when he does that? But when you got in there, he was kind of, just his personality was good. And he was a much better player than people kind of give him credit for. He knew the club as well. So obviously it probably meant more to him than probably people coming in from abroad or other clubs around the country. You don't have that probably deep in your heart, how much you love playing for that club. And he did have that. And like I say, he was probably a massive, he was brilliant for probably 3 or 4 years up there. So I think he was probably one of the reasons why they did so well at times.
Would you say as well, you always hear a lot of players say like, "Oh, I can spot someone who's shit a mile off," kind of thing. What for you going in there, obviously making that step up? Were you kind of nervous on your first day? I know it sounds a bit weird, but like your first day of school type thing. You're going into the Premier League now. You've got players that have played there, maybe like John O'Shea's, your Wes Browns. I don't know if they were at the time still. What was that like for you going your first day?
Yeah, again, I think I just kind of took it in my stride. I kind of, I always believed at that time, like I said, when I was playing my best football, I was ready for the Premier League. So I didn't really feel like, I didn't belong there or I needed to prove anything. So yeah, that was never the case with me. Obviously, you probably are naturally being judged by outside, the fans and stuff like that, thinking, can he play in the Premier League? He's done well in the Championship, but it's a big step. So, but I never kind of going in there, I was like, I'm ready for this. This is what I've been kind of working towards, and now is my chance to prove why.
What's it like playing in the Tyne-Wear derby? I've got to ask.
Yeah, that was, to be fair, that was probably my best day up there playing for Sunderland. We beat Newcastle 1-0 at St James's Park as well. That was incredible, that day, and the atmosphere and the whole occasion. Kind of, I think it was like an early kickoff, a 12 o'clock kickoff or something, and we got the coach from Sunderland up there, and they kind of pull up under the stadium, and they're just all Newcastle fans there, kind of giving you abuse and throwing stuff at the coach and chanting at you as you get off, and you're like, yeah, this is a great game to play, and it kind of gets you going a little bit. The atmosphere and them giving you abuse, it's kind of like, right, we're going to make them pay now, kind of thing.
Do you ever? I've always thought this. Obviously, when I speak, the more players I speak to and friends with, when you're walking off the coach, because I've been there as a fan, not giving the abuse, but just you see the players come off as a young kid. I used to watch them come off, and you hear people shouting abuse and stuff. I've got to ask, you must walk in that door when you've heard it, and you've probably heard something hilarious, and you're trying not to like crack up. Is that kind of aid and kind of bring on the kind of team cohesion and like, yeah, right, I remember that. I remember what you said. Yeah. Go in. What do the boys enjoy that?
Yeah, I think so. You have a laugh sometimes. If there's, there can be some crazy people there that, people, it's just their life, innit? Football is their life, and it takes over them, and they see a rival player and they just want to give you abuse. It's like, you're just a human giving human abuse. It's like, well, how can you get so angry about that? And it's, you get probably 100 people shouting stuff, and then there might be one that stands out because they're just going absolutely mental. And sometimes you get in there and think, did you see him? Did you hear what he was saying? And you're just like, what? How are people that angry? Do you know what I mean? We've not even played the game yet. But I think that just shows, especially up there, how much it means to them. And, it's good, really. It kind of puts it home, brings you back down to earth how much football means to people. And you just take that on and use that on the pitch, really. What
was it for you then? Obviously, I think you strung a couple of games together, and then I remember you doing quite well, and then Gus got the sack, I think, or he resigned. What was that like for you? Did you kind of know in your head thinking that I know this manager, he's brought me in because he knows me and he trusts what I can do? Are you still thinking there, oh, right, who's going to come in next? Like, does that come into your head?
Yeah, well, like I say, I played about 20, 25 games in that first Premier League season. Up until Christmas, I was kind of playing really well. We had a few results where I think we got battered off Southampton 8-1 or 8-0 or something. And
was it for Genie scored that absolute perler of an own goal?
It could be, yeah.
Yeah,
it was away at Southampton.
Yeah. This is the one. The goal. Yeah.
Yeah, up until then, I'd been enjoying it, been playing well, and then the fans kind of turned on Gus a little bit. Then we kind of, it was the team that kind of let him down, really, getting beat 8-0. It's kind of nothing to do with him. Just one of them days where everything went in every time they had a shot, and then he was under pressure then, and it wasn't a nice place to play up there. After that, he was kind of, right, that's it. We want Gus out, and no matter what he did, really, it was kind of, they wanted a new manager. I think it can be a bit like that up there at Sunderland, where as soon as they get something in their head, that's it. The manager's done, really. And then obviously pressure on the owners to kind of give in to the fans and get a new manager in. So yeah, but soon, obviously once I knew Gus was under pressure and probably about to leave, I kind of did put a bit more kind of thingy on me, where he brought me in. I was a Gus signing. Am I going to play again? Kind of thing. Is the new manager going to like you?
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of modern day football now, isn't it? I think that's why they probably have sporting directors and other people who make the signings now rather than the managers, because they know managers don't last that long anymore. So yeah, there was a few of us like me, Bridcut, he'd brought in. I'm not sure if there was any more that were kind of Gus's own signings, but we kind of, I don't think we really played again since it was Dick Advocat who came in.
What was he like to work under?
Yeah, he was all right. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. You know what, he did really well actually to keep us up. But again, so just passionate again, proper passionate.
Taking it back to the basics, or?
Yeah, hard work was kind of his thing. Nothing tactically,
crazy,
hard to understand. Yeah, just kind of work hard, and we can kind of get out of this. And he got the players going, and the players kind of wanted to work hard for him. He seemed quite a genuine guy that wanted to give you the best, and as long as you give it him back, kind of thing. So he was good to work under, even though I didn't play that many games under him. I think a lot of probably the players that did play would probably say he's a brilliant manager. So I think that's the thing with football. You kind of can't just praise the managers that play every week. You've got to kind of know when a manager's done well for a team, really. And sometimes that's probably hard to say, but he did do really well for Sunderland to keep him up. He ended up then, I think he was just kind of brought into the end of the season to keep him up, and he did that. Then they all wanted him to stay. And after a while, he gave in and he stayed. And then he had the worst start ever, about 6 to 8 games. We lost every game. So I think he should have walked away when he kept Sunderland up, really.
Who took over after that?
Came out in Sam Allardyce, I think. I didn't play that season after that. I went out on loan. But I think Big Sam came in and again did well, really, to keep him up. But yeah, Dick Advocat was a character again, and a good character in football, and yeah, an experience as well.
And obviously, you say you went out on loan, and then where was it, at Birmingham?
Yeah, I think I went to Leeds first.
Yep.
But I went in there when Juve Rosler was the manager who brought me in again. Another manager brought you in, and then he got sacked within 4 or 5 weeks. Steve Evans came in then to Leeds and just never really worked with me. And
is that down to the owners? Do you think that at that time, I remember like him, was it Redfern? Is that his name, Redfern? Steve Redfern?
Yeah, Neil Redfern, yeah.
David.
They was chopping and changing the manager, and that was just like they didn't give Juve Rosler a chance. I think he'd done quite well, then he had a few bad results, and then they got rid of him. So I ended up going back to Sunderland after probably about 6 weeks or something like that, which was a strange one for me. Like, I'd never been on loan before. Obviously, just a new experience, which I didn't enjoy really, because it's hard to kind of settle in, especially when you're only going on a short-term loan, to settle into the club and get to know the lads. And then 6 weeks later, you're just about settled in and you're going back because you're not playing, kind of thing. So yeah, after that, and then Birmingham, I think, from the January to the end of the season.
What's it like for, obviously, how old are you at this point when you're going out on loan?
25, 26, I think.
Is it, I don't know if you had a family at the time or a partner or anything like that.
Yeah.
Was that, I don't think people realise how hard like loans can be for players. Yeah. And I think in talking to Sunderland, obviously, one of my favourite players, Johnny Williams, obviously, went on loan to Sunderland, obviously in the Sunderland Till I Die documentary, and he really struggled, and it was public that it was struggling.
Yeah.
Do you think fans overlook that and kind of don't understand that going on loan or why is this player just sitting there collecting his money, should we say?
Yeah.
Was it a hard time for you to actually want to go out on loan, and like did your family come with you or anything like that, or were you on your own?
No, yeah, it is. It's a massive thing that, I suppose you don't expect fans to understand really, but if they did understand, then they might be a bit more kind of lenient towards you, where people, were moving, sometimes the length of the country to uproot maybe for 3 or 4 months sometimes. So it can be massive. My daughter had just been born before I went to Leeds. Luckily, Leeds was only probably about an hour from where I was living, so I didn't have to move. But then when I went to Birmingham, me, my wife, my daughter, we moved down to Birmingham city centre, and we was living in an apartment. We had our dog in there, and it was just, again, it was, because we knew we weren't going to be there long, you can't go looking for the place that you really want to stay or a nice area. You just kind of, you're there for football, and you kind of understand that. But to drag your family everywhere, it is difficult. You're in football a couple of hours a day training that. The rest of it, you're at home with your family, so you've got to be happy away from football as well. So, like I say, with Johnny Williams moving from probably down south somewhere all the way up to Sunderland, and he's not playing as well, and he's only gone there to play football, and he's probably thinking, well, what am I up here for? And it's, people don't see that side of it, I don't think. So I think if it was a bit more public and understood, which I think it probably is becoming a bit more now, with the awareness of mental health and stuff like that. People like say with him, well, how can he not be happy? He's earning thousands a week and all that. But it's, he's moved away from his family, his friends, and you're on your own up in Sunderland where you've never been before, and you're not doing what you've gone there to do. So it is difficult sometimes, definitely.
And obviously your time with Birmingham was just alone, and then was that, from an outside looking in, was that a hard point in your career, kind of leaving Sunderland at that time? And how did the move to Bolton come again? How did that come around? Because they were at a weird point at that point in Bolton's kind of, another, again, huge club, but they were at a weird time in their club's history.
Yeah, so I was obviously too long. I had loan at Leeds, and I went to Birmingham. And then I actually went on a season-long loan after that to Sheffield Wednesday. And then at the end of that season, that's when my contract was up with Sunderland, and they obviously said they're not keeping me on. So then I was kind of out for the first time in my career, out of contract, looking for a club. Bolton came along, and it was kind of like the perfect move for me, really. We just bought a house in Bolton, luckily. Oh, really? Because that's kind of the area I'm from. So that kind of fitted in well. And then they came in. It was just kind of like to move back home, back near my friends, back near my family. My wife being back home, and we'd been away for so long, moving about. I was kind of ready to kind of get back home and settle down a little bit. So for kind of reasons of moving back home, it was the perfect move. And obviously Bolton were in the Championship then, a big club, struggling a little bit. Kind of weren't a big we expected to go up or anything like that, but at the time it was kind of a good move for me, and kind of trying to get my career back on track and try and get back to the Premier League, which I'd aimed to get there, and I'd only really had 6 months of playing in the Premier League. So I was kind of thinking I need to get back to my best, playing in the Championship, and hopefully try and get a move again to the Premier League, or try and get promoted with Bolton.
And how was your time at Bolton? Obviously they're at a completely different stage when you first joined them, and then you obviously went back to them for a little bit after you left in the first place. What was it like there? Obviously another huge club in terms of being home. Did you kind of just enjoy your football at the highest point at that point, would you say? Yeah,
I think even though it wasn't a hugely successful season, my first season at Bolton, I was happy. I was at home. I was enjoying football again, training every week, living around the corner from the training grounds. So it was easy to get in and do extras, and it was just kind of an enjoyable time again. I think it could have gone better, obviously, on the pitch that first season, and obviously didn't go too well the seasons after either. But that first season, we stayed up. I think that was the season we stayed up on the last game of the season, I think. So that was really quite successful, really, because I think we just expected to stay up, and we made a meal of it. But we did it on the last game of the season, which was probably kind of a better way to do it in the end, because it gives kind of the fans that the euphoria of staying up on that last day, which was brilliant.
And I've got here, obviously, you broke your leg on the first day of pre-season, I believe, or first game or first day of the season. What's that like? Obviously, you're preparing for the season. You're probably thinking, I'm setting myself goals now, and then bang.
Yeah, to be fair, like, injuries are a massive thing in football again. That probably outsiders don't see. Bigger than that was probably a lot of my injuries that I had at Brighton, but just muscle injuries where that would keep me out 4 or 5 weeks. Just when you're getting into a rhythm, playing your best, and then you get an injury like that, and then obviously you're probably out. He's probably said, right, it's a 4-week injury, but it could take at least 6 or 7 weeks before you're then back to where you was, fitness-wise, sharpness. So they're the little ones that kind of affected me throughout my career and were probably more frustrating than a kind of a big injury in a way. When you get a big injury, you kind of like, right, you know you're going to be out for a while. You can get your head around it, kind of aiming for a time to get back. Whereas your little ones are kind of, just when you're playing well or something like that and you pick up them little injuries, definitely a thing that kind of, I look back on my career, I think that was, really annoying little injuries that probably hampered my progression at certain amounts of time.
Does that play on your mind then? Like, it might not. It might sound quite silly, but does that play on your mind when you're playing? Oh, if I really run for that ball, am I gonna? Is a hamstring gonna go? Like you've seen with players, very similar to yourself, fast players. Players are just going to play the ball over the top. 9 times out of 10, you're going to run onto it.
I think subconsciously, probably, I didn't feel like it at the time at Brighton. I was just kind of get back fit and then get back, sprinting every game and playing. Physically, it takes you a lot longer to get back to that full speed. How much of an impact kind of them constant injuries do have on you, not just mentally when you're thinking, do I want to open up there fully for a ball that I might not even get kind of thing. Them thoughts might have gone through my head sometimes, but probably not too often. But the physical, I don't know if they've done any kind of data on that, how much hamstring injuries do hamper, getting back to your full potential. I'm not too sure. But I probably had like 5 or 6 hamstring injuries at Brighton. So probably eventually it probably did hamper my kind of speed in the end, really.
So speak about, obviously you were at Bolton for how many years? The first time?
3 years.
3 years,
yeah.
And then what happened after that again, and kind of how and why did that happen? Like, obviously, was it released from Bolton in the end?
Yeah, so I originally signed a 2-year contract. I think we stayed up the first season of the Championship. Second season, we got relegated from the Championship, which is a disappointment because we started the season so well. But that was kind of the whole saga around the Ken Anderson ownership and not paying the players and stuff like that, which obviously had a massive impact on the season, really.
Just on like quick, what is that like? Obviously, people still think, oh, you're a footballer, you don't need to get paid. Like, it's not like disrespectful, but you're not earning multi-millions like the big boys. How is that again? Another like mental side of the game. What is that?
It was massive, and it affected so many players more than probably what people think looking from the outside. I think I was obviously lucky because I'd earned a lot of money playing in the Premier League, and a few other players had probably done well before that. But a lot of them had only played in League One, where you're earning good money for no bones about it, it's good money, but it's a short career. And how much money have you got when you're not getting paid for 3, 4, 5 months? People have got mortgages and stuff like that. So
is that what it was like?
Even like the staff. Well, it's more probably the staff that weren't getting paid. Then there was talk, do we help them out? Can we afford to help them out? And it's like, we're thinking about that when really we need to be concentrating on games and training. And then we're talking about, well, players are saying, well, I'm not training, we're not being paid, we're not training, we're not playing the games. And then in the end, you're like, I can't really not play the game. And it's all the talk and concentration and energy was going into that side of it instead of concentrating on the games coming up. So that's really where it affected us. It was a really bad time for the club, and it's obviously still affecting Bolton now with the way it was ran and all kind of done.
Obviously, I think in that team as well, you had a lot of kind of, I call them like kind of proper EFL players, if that makes sense. Like yourself, a number of other players. Do you guys kind of, I think people forget, like, do you come together and go, like, what we're going to do here? Like, we're not getting paid. Like, does that happen? Kind of, to explain to
Yeah,
people?
we was kind of having meetings every day of,
God.
do we train today? Do we put our foot down and say,
So
well, you
you all
need
come
to
in
pay
for
us?
training, and then you're like, well, do we go out or not?
Yeah, and then the manager's coming in and saying, this is the update I've had off the owner. And it was kind of like, we'd go a week without getting paid, and you're like, all right, we're gonna get paid. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's like 2 months, and then we're like, we need to put our foot down and say we're not playing then. But then we don't want to let the fans down, everyone down, and punish ourselves really, because if we don't fulfil a fixture, we're going to get punished. And then we needed to win because we were struggling at the time, and yeah, it was just meetings every day of what's the plan then going forward. The PFA come in and try and help us, and I think the PFA ended up paying some of our money to keep some people kind of going, and so it was just a disaster, really, an absolute disaster.
And then, so you signed a 3-year deal, was it? And then you.
So I had a 2-year deal, and then my deal was up, but then Bolton came in again when he was in League One. Keith Hill was the manager I had at Rochdale when I first started, so he kind of knew.
Top guy, is he?
Yeah, he's a good manager, to be fair, and I obviously got on well with him and his assistant, Dave Flitcroft, was really helped me come through at Rochdale. So it was kind of a no-brainer when they came into Bolton, and kind of staying local and getting back and trying helping them, obviously kind of get back into the Championship.
And obviously, was that in your head when you're thinking, where do I go next? Like you said, as a free agent. I think, because I remember looking at your journey, I remember it quite clearly. I remember thinking, God, I'm sure he could have gone. I'm sure there's I'm looking at it as a fan at this point.
Yeah.
He's a quality player. Like, he could go somewhere else. Is that because you just wanted to stay local as you could? Like, did you have offers somewhere else to go?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Or?
No, I obviously thought, coming down from the Championship, that I think most players thought that had played in the Championship previously, that it would be kind of easier to get back into the Championship than it was. And to be fair, there was a few managers that showed a bit of interest, but no one ever really committed to me. So it was kind of like Bolton was the next kind of best thing at that time in my career. Big club, probably the biggest club in League One at that time.
Oh yeah.
And if no one's coming in for you in the Championship, that was kind of the next kind of step. And obviously then you start factoring in kind of moving away from home and staying local and all them other factors which play a part again. So yeah, there was kind of a few things why I ended up then going back to Bolton.
And obviously now you've retired. Was that just down to injury, and you just wanted to stop it, or why did you retire in retrospect early?
Like I said, injury really. I think broke my leg just over a year ago, and kind of it's not healed, very well. Kind of in pain with it, trying to get back training. I was still going into Bolton, actually been really good, because I was under contract there when I got injured. They kind of said, come in, we'll treat you to try and get you back playing. So it's been over a year now where I've been trying to get back, and I don't think I'm ever going to get back to playing. So, I've had a good career, and like I said, going into the football agent and the kind of helping the young players come through now was kind of something that I'd looked into before. And like I say, it just come earlier than I probably would have liked ideally, but I was kind of preparing for that. As you get to probably 30, you start preparing for life after football, and this has come along, and yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Oh, amazing. So I like to do kind of like a quick fire round to finish up, mate. So kind of like a 1-sentence answers, kind of just a little bit. Best goal you've ever scored?
I think for importance wise was the winner for Brighton on the first game of the season. My first one, the half volley, was probably much better, but for it to be the winner and so late into injury time, that's definitely my best goal in my career. Favourite
moment in football?
Probably that one again, but I also played at Wembley when I was
18.
I was still 18, for Rochdale in the League Two playoff final. You know what? Probably, I don't know. Between them two, it's hard to pick. But playing at Wembley again was one of my aims. Obviously playing in the Premier League and playing at Wembley, two things you dream of when you're a kid. So yeah, that one.
Best team you've ever played in?
Probably the Brighton one. Even though obviously I went to Sunderland playing in the Premier League, for the enjoyable factor and some of the players that were at Brighton that time, Vicente, and then some of the players that went on have obviously gone on to do great things. Donkey, Bruno, the right back. The team was quality then.
Favorite, funniest person in football?
Probably a coaching staff member, Charlie Otway at Brighton. Some of the things he used to do. Another player actually, Craig Noon.
Yep.
Like more of a practical, would just do silly things. He came in once, a Spider-Man outfit or something. He come running down to training with a Spider-Man outfit on. I don't even know why he did it, but it was funny.
Best player you've ever played with?
Yeah, again, I think I played with Wayne Bridge at Brighton. He was brilliant. Bruno, the right back at Brighton. But technically, I'm probably the best players. I'm actually missing out Jermaine Defoe, who was unbelievable, but probably Vicente, just because of some of the things he could do, dribbling wise, and technically was just unbelievable to play with.
Hardest game you ever played in?
Hardest game, probably
the 8-0.
Yeah. Probably that was probably the worst one I played in. Another kind of one was probably worst one again, getting beat off Palace in that second leg for Brighton. Just devastating again.
Best player you ever played against?
I mean, I played directly against Ashley Cole, although I played really well that game, so it didn't feel that hard. But I think, obviously, the career he's had, it's got to be Ashley Cole, being a right winger and coming up against him.
Best team that you've played in terms of stature of the club, out of the clubs you've played at. So that favourite kind of time you've been there.
I mean, coming through at Rochdale was brilliant for me. I enjoyable wise. I mean, you look at all my clubs really. Rochdale, and even though I was only there a short time at Watford, was brilliant. Brighton was probably my best time of my career. Obviously, I think Sunderland was probably the biggest club at the time. So stature, probably Sunderland are up there with the fan base and how big of a club it is, and probably can get back to be as well.
And last one, what's next for yourself, mate?
Obviously, starting my own agency now. Watching the young lads play and kind of mentoring the lads through everything that I've already been through. Knowing the football industry, I kind of feel like that's my next step and can offer good advice moving forward to the players. And just being honest with people and kind of helping them kind of progress through a difficult career, really. I think people look at it sometimes and think, it's just easy and you're just playing football, it's brilliant, but there can be some kind of hard obstacles, and especially for young players these days, I think they need a lot of help, and that's why I'm doing it, really. Trying to give them the guidance that I probably didn't get off the agents that I had, because they weren't kind of ex-footballers. So just giving that advice of what I've been through.
Amazing, mate. Well, that's it. That's all my questions I've got for you.
Brilliant. Enjoyed that.
But no worries, pal. I hope everyone else enjoyed watching that. Keep an eye out. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment below who you want to see next on the channel. And it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, Joe.